Hello and welcome to Newspeak. I'm Peter Whittle. With me, as usual, is Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, Senior Fellow and Royal Historian, Amy Gallagher from Stand Up to Woke, and our other Senior Fellow, Dr. Philip Kiszely, and also our National Organiser. Ripped straight from the headlines, this one, I think. Rafe, David Lammy today. Fill us in.
Yes, David Mastermind Lammy, or perhaps we should be calling him Calamity Lammy, has been essentially exposed as being completely unsuited for his job. He disgraced himself at Prime Minister's questions, telling the other side to get a grip when in fact he hasn't had a grip on his own Department of Justice. And it seems as if he might be about to take a long walk on a very short plank on a ship. And whether the Prime Minister will retain confidence in him is something we're going to have to look out for. There are two stories here. One, of course, relates to the mistaken release of prisoners. So you'll remember when the asylum seeker from Ethiopia was released from prison by error, and then took several days to find him, and he was deported. After that, David Lammy said, "We have put in place strident checks, robust system to make sure this never happens again." Then at Prime Minister's questions yesterday, replacing the leader of the opposition, you had another Tory person there who was asking, can you confirm, has anyone been released from prison since this Ethiopian was released, who was an asylum seeker? Each time he was asked that, 5 times he was asked that question, Lammy obfuscated, refused to answer the question, became extremely aggressive. I've never seen somebody so angry, almost physically pointing across the table and so forth, losing his rag. And it then turned out, of course, that somebody had been released. So we had not an asylum seeker, but a foreign migrant who had been convicted of indecent exposure, had been on the run for 6 days. Yeah. 6 days this had been going on, and he knew about it, and he didn't tell the House. So in effect, he lied by omission, I would say, by not actually revealing what happened. And this happened, of course, at the same time as you had the fact that he wasn't wearing a poppy at all, and then suddenly during PMQ somebody gave him a poppy and he put it on the wrong side. But then it turned out he explained why he wasn't wearing a poppy by the fact that he had been out that day to buy a suit. Now he had been notified the day before that this person had been released from prison for 6 days, was on the run. Rather than getting a grip on his own department, rather than sorting it out, he went off and had time to buy a suit so that his godmother could see him wearing the suit during PMQs. I mean, this goes to show you. Remember, this was all, he said this during Prime Minister's questions. It was a remarkable display.
But it gets even worse than that, doesn't it? So he said he bought the suit on Tuesday, whatever it was. And then someone came to the rescue and said, no, you didn't. You bought it on Monday. There was a statement that came out and said, no, the minister bought it on Monday. And there was a fraudster who's just been released as well, erroneously, called Billy Smith. And his co-defendant was called Joe Smith. Now, Billy Smith got, I think, about 45 months. Joe Smith got a suspended sentence. They're both called Smith. They mixed them up, and Billy Smith went walking. And you have this image, this footage of him walking back to prison, obviously a right one, smoking, sharing a cigarette with a prison warder, and laughing and joking and making the system look absolutely ridiculous. But there's something else as well. Yesterday, in Wakefield Prison, one of the toughest prisons in this country, a monster, a child killer, was murdered. But that's the second murder in that prison within a few weeks. Previously, it had been Ian Watkins, the paedophile. So the whole system is in utter freefall. It's totally catastrophic. It's dangerous. It's dangerous for people outside. It's dangerous for people inside. Now, you might say that they are monsters, and yes, they are, but they're there to be punished. They're not there to be murdered.
With Lammy, though, it's kind of emblematic of a lot of other things, isn't it?
Yeah. DEI as well, because he's so incompetent. And, you get the sense that he's where he is because he's a black man. I mean, in amongst all of this, what we were talking about.
Was it Harvard you went to?
Yeah. Well, he passed under Harvard rather than going through it, I think.
Yeah. In amongst all of this, he had the gall to tweet on put on Twitter, I'm the first black man to respond to PMQs, you know. You get the sense that he's so desperate to be the first black person, but the Tories totally, have surpassed him in that, and that we had an Indian Prime Minister, and the leader of the Tory party is a black woman, so he can't really ramp up the fact that he's black that much anymore, because we've had all of this DEI, and it doesn't really mean much anymore. But that's still the thing that he always falls back on. And when he became Chancellor, he did that as well. He gave a big speech about he was, raised in a Caribbean home, and and so on and so forth. So he really leans into identity politics still, if he can and when he can.
Well, he does all the time.
And he's changed. Yeah, and he's changed. I mean, he was very, very much for reparations to the Caribbean, like large sums of money. That was his opinion before he became Chancellor, but now he's had to dial that down because it's not Labour Party policy. But we know what he is, and we know what he believes, and we know why he's there.
If you mentioned it might be a short walk, a long plank.
Long walk on a short plank, yeah. What I think is interesting, though, is that the mask has finally slipped on the type of character that Lammy is, because we've all known that he's a figure of fun, provides you with comic relief. He's incompetent. People will remember when he said there are no police on the streets. And there was a policeman standing right behind him. We saw him failing on Mastermind. But two things happened. Firstly, we saw him lose his temper so quickly at PMQs, suggesting he's got a short temper, but also very aggressive. But also, in France, there's just been a trial over a French taxi driver that Lammy and his wife alleged had stolen their luggage.
Oh yeah,
and it turned the French taxi driver has been acquitted. What it turns out, the French taxi driver was so scared of being attacked by Lammy that he drove off with their luggage in his car. Later he voluntarily returned it before there was any police involved, and he described how this man Lammy was saying the effing French, grabbed the bill out of his hand, and was acting completely
racist,
like this, and something similar from Mrs. Lammy as well. And so suddenly you get this picture of what this character is like behind that sort of bubbly, smiling face that you get there. There's something much, much more nasty.
But racism just underpins all of this, actually, doesn't it? So when people are anti-racist, they're actually just saying, well, it's my race that counts, and I want to impose myself on everybody else. And you see that kind of thing. And when these people are taken out of context, they're all, socialists with expense accounts. When they're taken out of context and they're put in the real world, then you really do see how nasty they are, especially with people who are serving them. And that's a classic example of that, isn't it? A taxi driver who can't really speak back, but who did in this particular way. And you see it with other members of the Labour Party as well. I mean, Dawn Butler is the other obvious candidate for all of the things we've just talked about, i.e. being promoted beyond her ability and all of that kind of thing.
And Diane Abbott as well.
And Diane Abbott.
This is a long one.
Yes.
Diane Abbott has got the one benefit, a very unpopular opinion here, of being funny occasionally. She can be humorous.
She's quite warm sometimes.
And basically I used to actually enjoy seeing her with Portillo.
Yeah.
I've never seen Diane Abbott and Lammy in the same room at the same time, though, so I still it might be the same person.
Oh, right, okay. On the line there, but anyway.
Yeah, no, but it is, I think it's just embarrassing that he is like on the national stage now, because it's not just the poppy thing, but there's been instances where he's worn trainers, when he's meeting Donald Trump, and you just think I feel embarrassed for our country, because he's just coming across as so incompetent, and
Thanks very much, Amy. Thank you, Rafe. Thank you, Philip.